Welcome back. It's going to be another top 8 here in Liverpool. And I'm very excited to say to you, my name is Mike, and this guy is Marco. And we're going to be coming at you with another game. So we're going to be in the quarterfinals here for you, where we've got some amazing players here in top 8. And the first game we'll be getting into a little bit later on. But before we do that, talk us through a little bit of this top 8, Marco.
So the bracket right now features some very interesting matchup. At the top seed, we have Stefan Ivanov going on a record of 10-1-3, playing the Hisuian Gudra V-Star that we have featured yesterday. Today he went on a pretty smooth 2 wins into 3 ties, and now he's going to be facing Sander Wojcik, playing that binder drop control. Featuring, I don't even know where to start, Flying Pikachu, Starly, Beard Keepers, Norlaxes.
We were quite lucky just to chat with him because he was just doing some recording for us. And even he's got cards that he's going to change now. So Sander constantly thinking of ways to innovate this controlling archetype. You know, throughout this period of time where control's been viable, he keeps innovating on the list he has before. You know, we've seen him play with Mewtwo of the Union. We've seen him play with the 4 Yveltal early on. And now we see a whole different mixture of cards here. But moving on, we got Mikey Block versus Ryan Morehouse.
Indeed, Mikey Block on that Lost Zone Rayquaza deck that we have featured a bunch of times throughout the weekend. It's a pretty good deck, always goes over the top in terms of damage and has some mid-range attackers that always help it out to go through the mid-game. And he's going to be playing against Ryan Morehouse on that Mew VMAX, the one playing the Fusion Strike version.
So what you see on the screen right now, we'll get that updated for you because this is in fact a Stuttgart top 8, so we'll just get you the correct top 8 here soon. But we can talk through some of the other decks that we've been looking into as well that are in this top 8 today. So there is 2 Lugia V-Star up in there, which considering 38% of the competition today, it's only down to 25% in that top 8. So only a few making it through.
Exactly. So it's going to be Kim that we just saw winning in. Playing against Rad Volpe, playing as well the Lugia Vista version. There are some small differences in the deck lists, and we'll see which ones will matter for granting that top 4 access.
But a big one, the percentage of decks in today's top 79, right? So day 2, there was very few Hisuian Gudra V-Star, but 2 of them have made it into the top 8. Stefan's one, and of course, was it Vinny?
I think, yeah, it's Vinny Schelfhout on that.
From Belgium, right?
Indeed, from Belgium, playing against the Swiss Leon Kessering on as well, Mew VMAX.
So 2 Mew VMAX,
2 Mew VMAX, 2 Lugia, 2 Hisuian Gudra, Sander deck, and then Lost Zone Toolbox.
So I'm really excited to see some of the Sander list in action. But what's interesting with the way the matchups have gone is we're going to guarantee a Lugia V-Star in the semi-finals. We are likely to see there
are high chances
Hisuian Gudra on Mew.
Hisuian Gudra on Mew. The so right now the pairings will be Hisuian Gudra against binder drop. Let's just call it that.
It was funny as well because with Sander, one of the amazing things about him as a person, he plays these crazy lists. But if you ask him what the route to victory is with the list, as long as people aren't around who might be useful for their information, he's always happy to talk through it, especially after events.
Exactly.
Why does this card there? Why is this set of cards there?
Very helpful gentleman.
And
very
like
open.
we just spoke to him and he explained the route to victory in his mind for this matchup. And it's like, I've just got to do X, Y, Z. Then after that, I've got to do Z, X, Y. And then, and also they can't have A, B, C. Otherwise, that might mean that I can't do this, this, and that. It's like there's so many things he has to think about and finds a way to victory. But it does sound like it's going to be quite tough for him against the Hisuian Gudra there.
Exactly. Hisuian Gudra against the control list. Hisuian Gudra is a very resilient deck in the sense that, first of all, it doesn't play any special energies. So if Sander is playing off that disruption for the special energies in the form of Yveltals, they're not going to be very useful in this matchup.
No, not at all.
What's more is that usually in Sander's deck there is some form of damage, but it's usually very chip, like it's chip damage. It's going to deal like 50 a turn. We saw in the past featuring the Elgigas for doing damage and then shuffling back into the deck, looping that continuously. However, that will not work because Hisuian Gudra says, I'd like to take 80 less damage next turn, please.
Oh, it's always fun as well with the Sander list trying to find the loop in it. And there's been the Palpad Silene loop we've seen a little bit of, where it's 2 Palpad, 2 Silene, which can break through a very unlucky circumstance, but it's very unlikely to. Whereas the Eldegoss Birdkeeper package, with 2 Eldegoss in particular, is very consistent and a double turbo energy to keep looping that. So that's going to be that there. The reason why we're talking about this matchup so much is Stefan Ivanov and Sander. I can't pronounce his surname. I feel terrible trying to pronounce it. Wojcik?
Wojcik, yeah.
Wojcik?
Like
Did I get it?
I'm pretty sure. Well,
Or do you not know?
No, I don't know either.
We're trying our best out here. Obviously here in Europe we have so many different nationalities. In this top 8 we have 7 different nationalities.
Exactly.
So we're very lucky to have people from all over the world competing here at the Liverpool Regional. So some of the surnames are a little bit more challenging for me as a terrible British man who can't speak any other language other than English. You can speak 3.
Yeah, but
and know
at
about
the same
5
time,
or 6. So you're probably a bit better qualified for this than me.
Yeah, at the same time, they misspell also my surname. Yeah, I'm looking at production. I know you can hear me. But at the same time, it's there's a lot of cultures here in Europe, and we're so glad that we get this opportunity to come all together, share our passion for the Pokemon game. Let's go forth and have a look at the other matchups that we may witness in top 8. There's going to be Mew VMAX against Hisuian Gudra V-Star. I think this is a very interesting version that we might see, because before we saw the Turbo version just now, and now we're going to see the Fusion Strike maybe against a deck that tanks, against a deck that tries to, you know, survive the damage. Hisuian Gudra towering amount of HP, 270 plus 80 resistance.
Was that the matchup that we got to see with Stefan when he was on stream? Because if I recall correctly, the Cramorant attacks into the Mew VMAX, sort of chipping away at it, setting it up for a Gudra attack. But then you can also, in theory, take out the Genesect with the Gudra. So definitely an interesting meta pick on the Gudra. I mean, that's why it was picked by Stefan. When he came on, he had the interview, he said, I think it just looks good into the majority of the decks in the meta.
That. 2 in the top 8. We'll see if any will advance into top 4. But what we are granted to see in top 4 is going to be a Lugia V-Star. Definitely the star, get it, because Lugia V-Star, of this tournament. 35% presence, even not 38% presence today, and 2 in the top 8. We're leading right now to top 8. It's going to be Stefan Ivanov against Sander. Sander, once again, the buy and the drop, and Stefan in this Hisuian Gudra that we have so much spoken of. 2
of the most notable names here in the top 8 as well, so I'm sure you guys are all excited to see these 2 play. Stefan, one of the top players in Europe in the modern era. I think he's 3rd in terms of CP in the modern era, accumulating over 6,000 CP across the last like 5 years.
Yeah, so winner, SP winner, regional winner, you name it, he has
back-to-back NAIC. Oh, what a hero.
Yeah, he defended it with all he had, both the Time piloting 2 masterful decks. Sander trying to figure out how a headset goes on, but he can't figure out how these complicated decks work, so I'm pretty sure he will be able to do that as well.
Smart guy.
Yeah.
Very smart guy.
By the way, we still need to mention the combination of sleeves plus nail polish that Stefan always shows off. Just
yeah, we love it. We love it. I mean, this is it, right? These guys, they're seasoned veterans when it comes to being on stage. They've got their own little quirks, the ways they do things. You know, both of these guys known for being slightly off meta, you know, whether it be Sander with control, choosing archetypes that tend to win through the non-prize taking win conditions, and then on the other side, Stefan likes to play decks that he thinks will work well in the current meta, but ones that people are less familiar with, or he'll try innovate one that is meta in a way that people aren't aware of. So a very creative deck builder is Stefan.
Both of these players have an excellent read on the meta game. Sander has confessed that he has not really thought about this matchup that much, and this may be the playing card that Stefan needs to use at most. So right now we're just getting set up, the players shuffling their deck, offering to each other for a cut, and we are going to see a fantastic top 8 game.
Well, this is always interesting as well, because these decks have both been designed to target the most popular decks here, and so the fact that they're here facing off against each other, it's going to be an interesting journey to the end result. But let's have a look at some of their lists and some of the counts in it. We'll leave Sanders for a bit.
Yeah,
we'll talk about the cards as they come out, because we could be here for hours explaining it.
But like we can see the deck list, and there's like 3 rows for Stefan, and there's 5 rows of cards because of the one-offs that Sander plays. He plays so many one-offs. How does this man do it?
But equally on the other side, where you said there's only 3 rows for Stefan, that is a lower count of a variety of cards compared to a lot of other decks. Very consistent deck here. Lots of 4-ofs. You know, 4 quick balls, 4 scoop up, 4 Chorus Experiment, 4 of each type of energy, water, metal, and capture. Capture, obviously, a great consistency card here. And then the Pokemon within, 4 Comfey, 3/3 line of Gudra, lots of consistency there.
Absolutely. I think it's done. Also, I think something important here that may be the key to this matchup is the Temple of Sinnoh. 3 copies being played here by Stefan, while Sander plays 7 copies of double energies. He plays actually only special energies. He plays 4 captures, 4 double turbo, free twin, and free speed lining, which I suppose he would argue that is his draw engine of the deck. Well, if he does it, I don't have anything to say regarding that.
Yeah, you got the old Gormandize Snorlax, a classic card Sander likes to play.
Classic.
I think that's probably in the front page of his binder, as every deck he builds is built around this draw engine. But an important thing to mention, Sander did talk with us about the route to victory, and he did explain some of the factors there. We don't want to reveal it too early. We don't want you guys at home to have any spoilers. But one thing he did mention was how important the stadium battle will be. Having 3 Galamine and 1 Lost Vacuum to deal with the 3 Temple of Sinnoh is going to be vital here for Sander.
Exactly. So right now, I'm just looking at which cards in each deck may not see much play. Sander plays a heavy line of Yveltal 4 copies of the Cry of Punishment, Cry of Destruction, actually discarding 3 special energies, but Stefan only plays those 4 captures, which are actually not necessary for his Gudra attack. Therefore, you may not see that play. We're ready to go. 2 Gudra in the prizes for Stefan already off the bat, and he starts with Luminion. Not a great start here, when instead Sander starts with that very sweet Regieleki with the electromagnetic Sona.
Okay, so we'll see how this pans out. The Regieleki commonly used in the Regigigas deck, but here it is very much only here for the electromagnetic sonar, not because of its hit points where it would be used in Regigigas sometimes. You know, targeted bolt is all right attack, but I don't know if it's going to be used here. I guess it could be in theory, but if you're going to go for a lightning attacker, that flying Pikachu has been a prize-taking strategy here for Sander, which is atypical of his decks historically, but he has recently tried a few more attacking decks that do win through prize cards.
Indeed. So if you're unfamiliar with the strategy of control, you are not wanting to take those prizes early as other decks try to. What you're trying to do is having your opponent deplete their resources, force them into a position in which they do not have an answer to what you're about to do. For example, bossing up one of their bench Pokemons and putting a Galarmine, which increases their retreat cost, and therefore asking the question, well, have you also got a switch, considering you have played, say, 3 or 4 of them already? And then again, it has all these different Pokemon that answer different decks. There is a Miltank for decks that are entirely V. There is a Yveltal for the Lugia matchup, and obviously the Flying Pikachu is great against basic Pokemons, completely walling them out.
Yeah, so lots of different options here, and lots of different additions to those strategies there. So you've got Big Parasol to help the Flying Pikachu survive in matchups where they might have effects to try and get around that. You know, there's lots of different ways to discard cards. The Peonia, very commonly found in Control, to allow you to get stuff out the prizes that might be vital, and of course all of these one-offs of different trainers that could be useful. You know, there is a Crushing Hammer in there. There's a Yell Horn. Honestly, if you guys could see this list right now, you wouldn't believe what you're looking at. But we will be seeing how this game pans out. Thankfully, though, for the Control deck, is up against a slower deck, one that is looking to try and start their game through building up the resources and then set themselves up for the rest of the game. But at that point, they're not going to rush through and take loads of prizes. They're aiming to wall. So there is a way of looping the game to try and deck their opponent out.
As a general strategy against Control, you want to try to beat to bench as little Pokemon as possible, because those may be praised later on for bosses orders and stalling. Once again, as you mentioned, the greatest route to victory, or the simplest route to victory for Control decks, is to just having the opponent deck out. And Lost Box sort of does that itself. So by the time Stefan is set up, having 7 cards in the Lost Zone, that's going to be at least 13 cards that have been drawn.
We shall see. So there we go. What goes into the Lost Zone could be vital here. We might see some clues as to routes to victory for Sander by what goes in the Lost Zone, but currently a Boss's Orders and a Greninja. Nothing too scary for Sander. I think, again, it's really all about those stadiums, so I want you to focus on the stadium battle as it goes back and forth. And what is key here is these players won't know exact counts, so some of the things that either player might be worried about on the other side might not even exist, so they're playing around a lot of maybes.
Maybes, yes. This will become clearer as the game goes on, and basically each player will reveal their deck to the other player, because you will just go through it, you will see cards going into the discard, being shuffled back. But I want to bring the attention of everyone to something. Sanders has done 3 top 8s in a row with his Control decks, but has never got through until the end. This is because in top 8 the rules are somewhat different. While normally if you go into a tie when time is called, you will receive just 1 point. But instead, if you go to game 3 and there is a prize advantage, the prize advantage will be the one that goes on into top 4.
Yeah, and typically the prize is not so favourable for the control deck. And as you mentioned, control tends to draw quite a lot. Sander getting into this top 8 with a 905 record. Getting 2 draws yesterday, 2 draws today, and 1 intentional draw. So yeah, a lot of draws there, and he just snuck in as the 8th seed. So Stefan is number 1 seed going into this with a very strong record, getting 33 points, and then Sander on the other side with just 32, right at the bottom, and just getting in on difference.
For those that don't know, there's a thing called the first seed, or the clean Swiss curse, which they say if you enter into top 8 and you're first, you never actually get to see the end.
Oh, is that so?
Is that so? Yes, exactly.
Does that still apply to legends like Stefan?
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to break the myth. Right now, Sander just had his first search through the deck and decides to go for the Radiant Greninja, another of his draw engine. I want once again to bring attention to the deck list. There's a lot of one-offs. There is a one-off of Tracking Shoes, one-off of Echoing Horn, one-off of Yell Horn, one-off of Lost Vacuum, Crushing Hammer one-off. This is because he will just be using the Reggie Elecki to always get that card back, and only get, therefore always having options for that specific matchup.
Yeah, you can see the Starly just getting drawn there. So with the Bird Keeper in the deck, you can get access to a free Keen Eye. Search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand. So it allows you to teeter out the certain cards you need in every matchup at the right time. So a great option early on. There is only 1 Bird Keeper, so you say it like that's just going to happen every time, but it's not always possible. And despite the other lists, this sort of meta we've seen from Sander playing Power Pad with Silene, there is no Power Pad here, but there is the Elder Goss approach to get that Bird Keeper back. So ways to reuse the Bird Keeper for sure.
Absolutely. I think Regelic is really the beating heart of this deck, at least throughout the mid game, when you can get back those resources they really need. He gets back any trainer with electromagnetic sonar attack just for 1 colorless. Right now Sander is just thinking how he wants to proceed. There's 1 Gormandize, 1 Unfazed Fat Snorlax into his hand, so he could either decide to fill up his hand, and he's gonna get to draw 3 cards off of his prize and then put them back. That's very nice with Peonia.
Okay, so Soon Heavy Ball, not so useful getting out the prizes, knowing that there's no other basics in there. Chorus Experiment, a good way to dig a bit deeper into the deck, which we see in decks other than the Lost Zone engine. You know, there's been
great supporter.
Arceus Duraludon using the Chorus Experiments. It's a great way to go through your deck, find the cards you need, and then just remove the cards you don't want. And obviously with a control deck, so many of the one-offs aren't relevant in certain matchups, but are in others, so you can just start to put those into the Lost Zone and never see them again.
Absolutely. Decides to put back exactly as you mentioned. He's on Heavy Ball as well as that Unfazed Fat Snorlax, not very helpful in this matchup where all the damage is done up front, and as well the big Parasol for the same exact reason. Now he benches that Starly. Does he want to go for... He will not go for a Bird Keeper this turn because he played the Peonia, but he just go Electromagnetic Sonar. Thank you very much. I'll get back that card in case I need those cards.
Why do you think he's getting that Peonia back after the Stadium War discussion early on? He's recognised one of his Galar mines is in the prizes, so not only will it be a way to get the extra 1 out of the prizes, but it will also be able to get 1 in access to the hand to be able to bump a stadium as soon as it's relevant.
Exactly. Peonia has the upside that you decide how to put back those cards, therefore he knows the left row on the screen is, well, he probably knows already the cards that are there.
I mean, imagine deck checking with a Sander list. There are so many cards in this list, so to be able to go through and do a deck check on that first search would be so tricky. So if he does know the exact cards, then respect to him. I think the main thing he's checking for is the cards that's relevant in the matchup. So he knows that Galar mine is so important here, and we'll see how that comes into play later on. But for now, it's really about Stefan now. How quickly can Stefan set up this Gudra V-Star, if that's the plan? There is only 1 in the deck right now. The other 2 are in the prizes, so setting up the Gudra V-Star is going to be a little bit trickier, but very important in this matchup.
Exactly. So right now he has 4 cards in his Lost Zone. Nothing peculiar there. The Renegade Range is there, but you don't really want to draw too much and too early against control archetypes, because they want you to be able to draw these many cards, because once again the win condition is to deck you out. I see you're hanging up the Hisuian Gudra V, the base Pokemon.
No, when you're up against...
It's a really interesting attack, doesn't
it? I mean, whenever you're up against, when you're a control deck against anything, you're always going to want to check what the other cards that typically don't attack do, because sometimes, you know, there might be one that has Shred, for example, is a classic attack you often see, but Gudra, the Slip and Trip, is a great way to disrupt a control deck, being able to not only get damage on the board, but make your opponent switch their active out, which can be quite awkward, especially with the Galar Mine in play, if that ends up coming down.
Exactly. I'm having a look right now throughout Sander's list. His best retreat option is the Flying Pikachu V, 190 HP, no retreat cost. However, all of his other Pokemons, I believe, have a retreat cost, and he doesn't play any Air Balloon to sweeten the deal. Yeah,
I can imagine the Slip and Trip getting the Greninja into the active when there's a Galar Mine in play or something like that, and that would just completely throw off Stefan. But yeah, we really want to see when these stadiums start coming down, because that is the key. The way to victory here for Sander is to deck out Stefan, and that requires a special energy on the Eldegoss to loop with the Bird Keeper, and using those Cape of Toughness that he has. And that's going to be really tough to do if there is a Temple of Sinnoh coming in to disrupt that play.
Indeed. Once again, there are some key cards in this matchup that will really decide who will come out on top. Something very interesting as well is the Fortune that is in the prizes. I really like the card. Basically, use which one of your Pokemon from basic Pokemon from one in your discard, so it can really be a surprise effect for Stefan if he doesn't expect it.
Okay, I'm interested as well. Will Sander go out and start putting stadiums down early, or just hold on to them to try and bounce them? Because I don't think he'll know that he has the one extra stadium bounce with a Lost Vacuum 3 Galar Mine versus the 3 Temple of Sinnoh.
So something very interesting here is that Stefan, his only piece of end disruption is Roxanne. Roxanne has a clause that you can only use it if the opponent has 3 prizes or less, which means no other pieces of normal hand disruption, no monies, no judge from the side of Stefan. Once, as you mentioned, his deck is sort of clunky at the beginning when setting up, but once it's set up, it just does its thing, and it does it well. So right now we're just seeing a little colors experiment, putting away the Yveltal. Thank you very much. You are not needed here today.
Exactly, and the Yell Horn as well.
Yeah.
Could be useful for disruption.
Yeah, Yell Horn is interesting, you know. I guess the other cards were better for what he needs right now. Yell Horn can become useful, but yeah, you know, Hisuian Gudra has 3 retreat costs, but I think he is aware that being a lost box deck, he will play a lot of switching effects. Yeah,
that's always the joy of being lost box against any deck that tries to trap you, is that you have access to typically close to 4 counts of scoop up net, switches, escape ropes,
exactly.
And you know, you can manually attach with energy onto Comfey as well, so there's lots of ways to switch out. Nothing too scary about that, but looks like the interesting powering up that Regieleki. We did say that was a potential out, but unlikely. But at this stage, why not?
Indeed, and something, if Sander realizes that the only attacker that can knock out Miltank in... Oh, there we go, Galar Mine right away. The only attacker is the Cramorant, 110 damage. That means that if the Cramorant gets knocked out, then the Miltank can basically wall the entire deck. Yeah,
and I think right now the Comfey being taken out as well could be useful to try and disrupt the engine. But yeah, I mean, in particular, if that Luminion gets into the active spot, that's a knockout there. Maybe going for the Gudra. I mean, there's so many different thought processes.
Magical number reached. 7 cards. Right now, the Mirage Gate is online. Let's see if Stefan wants to go in. Right now, Galar Mine is out. And I think I would want to appreciate how well Stefan is playing this game. He only attached Special Energies Retreat before now, which knows Sander has a bunch of his deck dedicated entirely to disrupting that. And now he's being very careful with his switches. He's going quite slowly. As you mentioned, he did not go very quickly to reach that magical number of 7. And he is just retreating manually, slowly and steadily, reaching this number that he now was able to. Let's see what he goes for. Do you think he's going to go into the V-Star right now? He's going to try to do a slip and trip?
I don't know. I mean, again, this is where we are witnessing 2 very smart players playing a matchup that none of us have ever seen. None of us have ever seen this matchup before. These guys have probably not practiced this matchup before, and so they are trying to work it out on the fly, and that's really where the skill comes from these top players. We mentioned how Stefan likes to play those decks that people aren't ready for. A big advantage of that is your opponents don't know the accounts in your deck. They don't know what they're expecting, whereas a lot of players here in Liverpool Regional will have 58 to 60 of the same cards as someone else who's done well at a recent tournament. So the creativity from these guys makes it hard to know the exact strategy going into it. And because of that, Stefan is keeping as many resources available for the later stages of the game. So I really don't know which route he's going to take. He's powered up the Gudra with the intention of starting to wall, but who knows where this is going.
Exactly. One energy as well attached onto the active. Comfy is going to use that to retreat, but once again, you need to get rid of that Gather Mine, which increases the retreat cost of your Pokemon by 2.
And even that Speed Lightning onto the Regieleki, Sander might have no intention of attacking with that Pokemon. It is just there as a way to draw cards. So
exactly,
loads of different decisions here that are unorthodox in the Pokemon TCG. So we'll see, and we'll unpack this as we go with you guys at home. I'm sure everyone at home thinks they know where this is going, but realistically, the only two people in the world who know where this is going are the two right now on the table.
I'm not even sure if they know. Right
I mean, they're trying to find out where it's going.
They're trying to find out with us, yeah. Right now, he has power evolved into the Galarian V-Star and Temple of Sinnoh. Goodbye, Galar Mine. One of them already in the bin. But always keep in mind, Regieleki can get back any trainer, meaning the stadium race needs to be won by Stefan before Stander is in control of the game.
Yeah, you just saw that little shimmy of the shoulders by Sander after the stadium came down, so I'm thinking that's one.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to work my way through the others, and that is ultimately the goal right here. Sander is trying to bait out these stadiums, get them out of play as quickly as possible so that he can then start to get that loop towards the end.
And Sander asks the first question. I have a Miltank. Do you have an answer for it right away? Or are you going to give me some turns to set up and, kick back, find some cards, discard a energy, fruit, radiant greninja ability, draw some cards, just passing some time.
Yeah, so we mentioned earlier about the loop, the Eldegoss loop. So if you've got two Eldegoss, both of them have a Cape of Toughness on, you can keep using the float up attack and essentially loop for the rest of the game with the Eldegoss.
Until your opponent is decked out.
Until your opponent's decked out. And the concerns there, we mentioned before, Temple of Sinnoh is one because that throws off the attachment of the double turbos, but also the addition of stuff like Lost Vacuum that could get rid of the Cape. These are all things that Sander is concerned about, but we know that Stefan's lift is very solid and consistent, and there is not much more than the pieces needed to make that Gudra V-Star work, which is why it's been so successful today. And so all that he needs to lose in terms of resources for Sander is those 3 Temple of Sinnoh. So 1 down, 2 to go.
Exactly. So the numbers here for the people at home that are not sure how this may end up, there's a possibility in which Gudra, that does 200 damage, needs to knock out Eldegoss V with 180 HP plus a Cape of Toughness, bringing it to a 230 HP. That's a lot of HP for a little pollen puff. And the damage here may be achieved through Galarian Zigzagoon, of which Stefan plays 1 copy of, plus 2 scoop up nets.
Didn't even see that.
Yeah, that's the only way, and I understand it's something really difficult to see because it's not something that comes to mind. And the Hisuian Gudra also blocks 80 damage next turn. Therefore, you will never get the knockout, but you will get your opponent decking out, unless they're able to do this little trick.
So he needs to save 2 scoop up nets and the Zigzagoon.
Okay, second Galarian Mine right here. 2-1 in terms of stadium.
I wonder if this is where I wish I could just ask Stefan right now. I wonder if he has seen that Zigzagoon requirement potentially later on.
I think we spoke to him before. I think he did not expect it. I think.
Well, no, Stefan. Sander mentioned a few different things that could affect it, but he just. I don't know whether Stefan, we can already see a scoop up net in the loss zone there. I'm sure he might have needed one used already. Do you see any in there? I think I might have seen one.
There's definitely one in the last zone.
So this could be very exciting. But this is where the match 2 against a control can be so important, because if you know what their goal is, if Sander's only got 1 route to victory and he plays it out in the first game, then you go into the second game as Stefan and you save those resources. When you're doing those flower selectings, you think, I need that scoop up net. Zigzagoon, I need that for late game.
Exactly. So game one is where the other players are basically sussing each other out, understanding what is the best route of victory for them. Look at Stefan's hand. 3 escape ropes, 2 switching effects. He's just keeping them because he knows Sander's best shot is to just stall him out. He would enjoy right now to have access to the Cramorant to get the knockout on that mill tank, but that would require him to switch, so that's already something else. So decides, this turn I'm just gonna get an easy knockout with that boss order, and he's going right for the throat, just going for that Radiant Greninja, the true draw engine of Sander's deck for now.
Yeah, that mill tank going straight forward there, just trying to provide that walling effect. So the boss's orders, there are 3 of them in Stefan's list. So it's definitely something to think about as another resource that's important here. And the Chorus Experiment, there is one of the Elder Goths. That's going to go straight down. You can start to see the way Sander's brain works with things like Chorus Experiment, as what he prioritizes.
Exactly what he needs. So I think I saw there also Flying Pikachu. I expected to go into the Lost Zone this game. I don't really think this is his time to shine. But the other cards that, I mean, obviously the Lost Zone has this downside, which you cannot get those cards back. Basically, that's the downside. But Sander here may decide the 2 cards that he really doesn't want to see this game. Let's see what they are. It's gonna be, that's
Sydney, right?
With a Flying Pikachu V.
I've seen Sydney in control decks before get some amazing value. So Sydney is great against Mew. If the Mew's only got 4 double turbo and you manage to get a Sydney off when they're in the hand, you can really disrupt them and start removing those energies.
It's very interesting. So for all the people at home that are not aware what Sydney does, you basically look at your opponent's hand and you discard a true combination of Pokemon Tool, Special Energy, and Stadium cards.
So that could have been a way to win the Stadium battle here if used when there was any Stadiums in Stefan's hand. Could have been good there. And obviously with any of these discard from hand effect cards, one of the other benefits of them, you get to look at your opponent's hand, which is always a useful added effect.
One of the great feats of the control deck is that it runs all these single price attackers. Sander does not matter. For Sander, it does not matter whether the opponent has drawn 5 prizes or 1 prize, as long as they don't draw the 6th one and win the game. Therefore, his best chance right now is just like he's going to offer this Pokemon that he just put down, free up his bench slots. Very interesting that he decides to keep the 2 Gormandized Snorlaxes, considering his hand is pretty full, but I'm pretty sure he has a reason for that as well.
Yeah, now we've sort of looked at the Sydney. I'm interested as to whether that would have been a better option, and maybe in a future turn might be an option just to start removing those Stadiums without having to have them in play, because the Elder Goss is poised and ready in hand. But
that's the Scoop Up Net. That's one of the cards that we have described before as key to the matchup if it ever reaches the point of looping Elgigosses. Therefore, that's 1 less in the deck.
That's a mistake from Stefan that he might not even realize is a mistake, and it might not even become relevant because we are watching Sander try and get down to the bottom of his deck and try and get everything needed for the loop at the end. But that Scoop Up Net could have been part of the 3 Zigzagoon Headbutt Tantrum pings to set up the Elder Goss for a knockout. But we see there a Quick Ball removing Yveltal, not needed in this matchup, so thinning a little bit more as we just want to be getting right down to the bottom of the deck. And part of the downside of what's happening right here is that Mill Tank being the one out front means that you're not getting the added Gormandized drawing effect of those on the bench. So maybe they'll be coming in a bit later on for Sander.
Yeah, Sander's hand is pretty thick right now. He decides to finish that game a bit more by getting the other copy of Yveltal. Already 2 are gone. I think he wants all of them gone because in this matchup they will not feature that much. So right now, I think Stefan has 1 boss's order left in his deck. He plays 3 copies. 1 is in the Lost Zone, 1 has been used. Actually, sorry, the last one is in the prizes. 3 prizes left here for Stefan. But now this means that the Mill Tank, as long as they stay in the active and Stefan does not have access to his copy of Cramorant, we will not go anywhere far.
So was that a Twin Energy and a Quick Ball? Very quick decision there for Sander. Again, there's so many pieces in this deck that just aren't relevant in a matchup, and so on this occasion Sander was able to just make that decision swiftly, and you can see here the Scoop Up Net could become relevant. at some point in the future. Might look to get the loop of Eldegoss back into the deck at some point soon, as that will help thin out the hand a little bit.
Yeah, it also grants you a supporter each turn. Oh, Cape of Toughness onto the Miltank. That's really big. This means that you cannot one-shot it anymore with that Cramorant attack. 110 damage spit innocently. Not very innocent when you try to take away of your opponent's single win condition. So let's see what he wants to go for here.
You mentioned about how the Roxanne was the only disruption here for Stefan, and considering the unlikely nature of 3 prizes being left for Sander, I think it's pretty safe to say that hand that Sander is looking at right now will be his hand for the rest of the game.
Exactly. So right now Stefan has a big decision. Do you want to go for the Cramorant and start attacking, taking the knockout in 2 turns on that Miltank 160 HP? Way too much for a Pokemon with that ability. Capture energy. I think this is going to go find that Cramorant that I'm talking so much about. His deck looking already pretty thin.
Yeah, and running out of gust options now, so that Miltank might be able to stick a little bit longer. So there's a lot of resources slowly disappearing for Stefan, but the main resource is that number of cards in deck that Sander's going to be looking at very closely as he's cutting there.
He still has 3 copies of Escape Rope in his deck, so I think he's feeling pretty... I think 2 copies, I'm sorry. Stefan has them both in his hand. And right now he's just going to put some damage onto that Miltank, I believe. Yes, 110 damage. Use this beautiful switch from Hair Gold, Soul Silver. And yeah, this is where the climb begins.
Indeed. So both Eldegoss in hand there, useful for later on. There is a Thornton there. Maybe a card used, a Thornton.
The switch in the basics from one in the discard.
Is there a basic in the discard that wants to be seen here? Let's see what Sander goes for. Maybe it will be the Greninja to start getting through that deck, because really needs to get down through that deck right now. So gets rid of another Twin Energy, not useful in the matchup as mentioned before. Crushing Hammer. I mean, it's a deck. It's a insta-playable.
Yeah. Sure.
So just working his way through the deck now.
I don't think it is. I think it was that 1 here for Sander on an undefeated record, by the way, 905. Let's see what he wants to go for here. Bird Keeper. He
won't be able to Bird Keeper as he's already Thornton this turn, I believe.
Yeah, he already Thornton.
Stefan instantly picks up on that one.
Thanks God, Stefan is there to pick it up. They're both very experienced players. They understand that sometimes you make these mistakes, but as long as nothing has changed in terms of the board state, nothing has happened. Therefore, you're fine. Ooh, decides to go for that Scoop Up Net, picking up that Miltank, removing the damage, but also removing that Cape of Toughness. He has 3 copies in his deck. Therefore, he's very happy about that, and will just find another copy to substitute it.
Yeah, it was probably hoping to Bird Keeper into something and then bring the Miltank back into the active spot. But we'll need to find access to those last cards in his deck so we can start the Eldegoss loop, but still concerned about the Temple of Sinnohs that have not been played by Stefan. Stefan very aware that that is a key to the loop, but getting a Scoop Up Net back from that electromagnetic radar.
Ooh, switch off the top for Stefan. He wants to have them all in his hand. Sander has no hand disruption whatsoever in the terms of like looking at your opponent's card and discarding those cards that will find him, he wouldn't want to be played against him.
Especially with Sydney gone now. That was the main way of taking away resources, but it does look like the Goodra is going to be attacking now, and that helps, you know, the walling effect there.
Stefan is really using the principle of minimum and maximum. Basically, he wants to use the minimum resources to achieve the maximum result. The maximum result in this case was, I need to knock out this Reggie Alecki. It's just a 3 prizes. It's not a Miltank, which is the warring Pokemon for me. Therefore, I'm just going to try to do so. And he's just going to use 1 switch, nothing more. The Galar Mine is in play. There's no need to commit 2 cards such as Stadium plus Energy. And, ooh, here we go. Eldegoss in the bench.
So this is where we start to see that Eldegoss with the Cape of Toughness on, being able to take 1 hit from the Goodra and then attempting to float up. So the Bird Keeper gets that Eldegoss into the active spot. We'll see a Cape of Toughness go onto that. It will take 1 hit this turn, I'm sure. And then we'll see what happens next turn.
Okay, he has the Cape of Toughness. He has the double turbo. Once again, the Goodra will not take any damage. But that does not matter, because that's not what you're trying to do. Also, the attack is a May, therefore Sander may be thinking here, I'm just going to hit for now. I don't think he has this. He does have the second Elgigos in his hand, but his deck I don't think is thin enough for him to be comfortable about this decision. He may just go to the Miltank, but Miltank without the cape is not long for this world.
Yeah, and there's a scoop up net in hand, so can remove, say, something like the Snorlax, but we'll just pass over. Ooh. Asking, do you have a Gust out? Just going to be checking the numbers here on the card. This might be the point where Stefan goes, that Zigzagoon might have been useful here to be able to get the damage output needed. For
the people that have joined us just now and did not hear me before, the way in which Stefan can do the damage now, he's nodding his head, maybe he knows it, it's 200 damage plus 3 Zigzagoon pings.
Yeah, Headbutt Tantrum, 10 damage every time you put it into play. So with 2 scoop up nets, that would allow you to get over that number. But we believe 1's in the lost zone, 2 have been used already.
I think so.
So that option is not available in this game, but might be saved in the back of his mind for the next game.
So right now, Stefan, if things do not change, he has 2 escape ropes into his hand. Therefore, he can just escape rope now. He can knock out any of the Pokemon, possibly committing one more switch effects because the Galar Mine is in play. But let's see. There's a lot of uproar at the back due to Pokemon Go and Pokemon VG. Once again, have a look as well at those streams. And here we are with the switch. The escape rope forces your opponent to go first. Therefore, Stefan can move accordingly.
Well, the thing is, Miltank goes forward, Goodra can't attack. Snorlax goes forward, Goodra can attack and knock it out. So off the back of this escape rope, we'll probably see a Comfey go forward, Flower selecting available, and then hopefully switch back for Stefan to be able to knock out the Snorlax with the Goodra, or maybe...
yeah, it goes Luminion. Luminion, if he has a Stadium, he can commit a Stadium right now for retreating, or not the switching effect, although that may be the dangerous thing to do. Let's see what Stefan has in his hand. I think I saw Temple of Sinnoh. Yes, there it is. Yep, so Galar Mine.
The second one.
Yeah, Galar Mine no more imposing that extra tax of 2 additional energies to be discarded.
Okay.
The retreat cost.
We're getting there. So now we're in a position. The Goodra can knock out the Snorlax. 1 prize would be remaining then for Stefan. A Temple of Sinnoh has been committed. That can be bumped by Galar Mine. The knockout on the Snorlax now means 1 more is needed for Stefan. So if all of the bench Pokemon get removed by Sander, or there is no way to access those bench Pokemon by Stefan, then we'll be there. But the escape ropes and boss's orders, I haven't kept count on those, but there's 3 of each of them, and I've seen at least 2 of both of them being played.
Yeah, there's an escape rope in his hand as well as a switch, and he did not draw the boss order from his prizes. That's his last prize card.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, this may be the differentiating factor.
Imagine if that's the factor that decides the game. But you can see how thin Sander's deck has got there. There is just 1 card left in there. The second Cape of Toughness has been put in, into his hand. So he can now get the Eldegoss down, can put the double turbo on it, put the cape on it, and start that cycle.
Indeed. So once again, for the people at home, every time you play Eldegoss, you're going to get back a supporter from your discard
He's getting
pile.
the scoop up net back from the prizes.
Indeed, indeed. He's removing all of the options for Stefan here to be able to take the knockout in 1 turn.
Do you remember when Sander was explaining everything he has done this game to us? And I just thought, there is no world where you can get into that scenario. But right now has 2 scoop up net to get rid of the Greninja and the Miltank, leaving just 2 Eldegoss in play with a very thin deck, 2 double turbo, 2 Cape of Toughness, cycles them on repeat.
Exactly. There's a lost vacuum. Also removing the Temple of Sinnoh, only 1 copy remaining here for Stefan. And as you mentioned, he's going to just be leaving. So once again, the Eldegoss will be shuffled back in the deck.
And just takes the Bird Keeper.
Will have the of toughness, and they will bring them to 230 HP. The damage is not needed because Stefan eventually will draw his entire deck, and once you have no deck and you try to draw a card, you will lose.
And he can just keep getting back the Chorus Experiment and get the next one into play. So that we are now in the end game of this first game here. Stefan needs to find a way to get a Temple of Sinnoh to stick, but I believe there is 1 more bounce here for Sander in the form of a Galar Mine. So I think we might be into the checkmate zone if Stefan has used up all those resources we mentioned before.
Something that Stefan may do, although this may take a long time, is Elgigos does 30 damage after all, after the dual turbo is attached. This means that he can have some of his Pokemon knocked out, try to go to free prizes, and then play the Roxanne, shuffling back the hand of Sander, making him draw only 2 cards.
That's interesting.
But
he can just
it
pass.
will take a lot of time. Exactly.
He could just pass for the rest of the game.
That's the problem. Therefore, you have this situation in which you're stalled out. The best thing would be if, I don't know, he can attach enough energies to Comfy to just, hey, I'm going to deal 30 damage to you. But that's, I don't think we're going to reach that point.
This is a very interesting route you just mentioned there. Yeah, trying to get into Roxanne range to force Sander to miss the loop so that the Gudra can get a knockout. Very interesting idea. But yeah, this is the goal for Sander. Get down to 1 prize left, or in that time, try and find all of the cards in your deck that you need and start the Eldegoss loop.
Indeed. So Sander here, pretty sure about his possibility. Just decides, I'm going to take that 200 damage, thank you very much, and I think now I'm going. Bye-bye.
How does he do it every time? How does he get to the stage where he starts the loop every time?
I don't know.
Beautiful.
Sander is a very measured man. He really understands what the most played cards are, what are the counts that are very likely in his opponent's deck, and really uses the cards that are meant for, you know, just getting through a matchup without actually taking prizes. He decides to bring up the Dominion. Dominion 170 HP, but 1 retreat cost. Let's see if he has also Galar Mine to back it up.
I don't know if you'd want to play the Galar Mine, because that would potentially mean the Temple of Sinnoh could stick. Yeah. I think he needs to keep that Galar Mine to avoid the Temple of Sinnoh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he doesn't even have it, or maybe he does. I can't.
Yeah, he's got it in his hand, just in the middle. Okay,
Shuffle it back.
I would like to officially say that Sander is now my new best friend. Alex Dow, you have been demoted. Sander, I am blown away by what I'm watching here. This is potentially my favourite Sander game I've ever seen. It's just such a beautiful endgame scenario he's put himself in here, so well played.
Indeed. So right now it's for Sander to keep up the loop and instead for Stefan to try to break it somehow. He does have still some resources in his deck. The real meta here will, I think they thought there was a bit more damage, but the double turbo reduces by 20 the attack damage. Right now, yeah, he does have the everything is going in hand. The real matter is how many of that scoop up nets do you have, Stefan?
Interesting. Yeah, I think we've seen too many used, but he'll know for the next game. That's the interesting thing, is he knows that's an option in the next game. Sander might then have to play with a little bit more of a risk involved, knowing that that's an out now. I mean, the Zigzagoon hasn't been revealed yet to Sander, so he might think going into the next game that he's got it guaranteed again with this journey. So Chorus Experiment is the way to loop it. You guarantee the 3 cards that you see, take back the Chorus Experiment, and then we loop it. As you can see, this will be happening every turn, knowing that the Gudra cannot knock out a Eldegoss with a Cape of Toughness on, floats up, takes all the damage out of the play, goes back into the deck, and we repeat.
An interesting option that Stefan could have in the next game is to start attacking with Drapion. Drapion attack has a downside, which is dealing 60 damage to one of your Pokemon. That way you can free up your bench.
You love this Roxanne.
Yeah, I do love Roxanne. I think it's really the key to break this matchup.
I think the Drapion was put into the Lost Zone about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, he really was.
It's been a while. But
bye, Drapion. So right now, Stefan is having a look through his deck. He knows that Temple of Sinnoh. Temple of Sinnoh will break the loop because the double turbo energy will only give 1 energy, therefore we're breaking it. But we know that the Galar Mine is present in Sander's hand, so right now he's just thinking, how do I get on with this?
Yeah, so Stefan right now trying to work out how to break this right now. As far as I can tell, I don't think there's a way. Maybe the way you described, the Roxanne route that you described, could be a way. But as far as I can tell, this is GG right here, and we'll have to see if Stefan can save the Zigzagoon with 2 scoop up net for next game.
Yep. So he decides to put those 2 cards into the last one. They're just 2 quick walls. I don't think they're very particularly good when your deck is 1 card. That is not even a Pokemon. So right now, yeah, Stefan is just thinking, he's just understanding what he has in his deck. What can he do next time? And yeah, I'm pretty sure we are assured that there's only 1 Zigzagoon plus 1 scoop up net. He has them up the front of his hand. The rest of the cards that we see that are sort of bluish are instead the ordinary rods.
I guess a way around the Zigzagoon at this point for Sander could have been something like an Echoing Horn.
Yeah.
And then that would be where some of the methods you've just mentioned to free up a space could be there. It would force another scoop up net out of Stefan, which he might not prepare for.
Exactly.
But yeah, this was the goal. Sander came in. He told us beforehand this was what he intended to do. He's executed it perfectly, and now it's up to Stefan to use the resources in his deck to try and find a way around it. As we mentioned before, Zigzagoon and the 4 scoop up net seems to be the best method to get an Eldegoss at the end, and hopefully, if that's the case, you'll have to get the knockouts beforehand, as he did this time, to get within 2 prizes.
Yeah, he only needs those 2 scoop-up nets in the end to reach the 230 damage every time it comes down. The first time is for free, then 10 damage plus 20, that's 30. However, yeah, Stefan right now is really at the limit of his resources. I want to know what he wants to go for here. Comfy. He's going to use its ability. Have a look at it. It's Temple of Sinnoh. Not much we know. It's just going to shovel back some cards, try to extend the game a bit longer, maybe try to understand what else Sander can do. And once again, we need to remember that every time Sanders go through the loop, he gets back a supporter, which is threatening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the Sanders supporter every time will be that Chorus Experiment to guarantee the next Eldegoss, that seems to be the loop he produced last time. So we'll see if that continues to be the option off the top.
Yeah, probably Bird Keeper. Otherwise, to just guarantee the switch and guarantee to draw those 4 cards. In fact,
with the Bird Keeper, you could only do that if you got the Eldegoss.
Yeah, you always attach. Yeah, you always attach 1 extra energy before. But right now, let's see what how he wants to continue. Let's see. He's gonna go just for the damage. Temple of Sinnoh says, "Listen, do you have that extra Galar Mine?" He did. Sander had a look to the entirety of his prizes. Therefore, I think Stefan wants to know if he plays 3 Galar Mines or he plays only 2.
So getting just the double turbo off the top now, so doesn't have access to
the Eldegoss.
Eldegoss right now, so
every time
needs to draw that off the top. Does have a Bruno.
Shuffle your hand in, draw 4. If a Pokemon was knocked out during your last turn, instead draw 8, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so there is various different options here for the loop. So the Galar Mine goes down. There is no more stadiums for Stefan to use. There's the Chorus Experiment. Gets the Eldegoss back, and there it is. See, Chorus Experiment each turn being used. Stays it in the hand from the last turn. With Chorus Experiment, normally you have to put 2 in the lost zone, but if you don't have up to 5, you guarantee that. And so now the Stadium will stick. The Eldegoss loop will continue. There are 4 cards now in the deck for Stefan that we saw from the Ordinary Rod, so just needs to try and play out these 4 turns to fully deck out Stefan.
Exactly. Stefan still has an Ordinary Rod, can bring this longer, but as long as the loop is established and the damage is there every turn, this is going to be tough. Very tough for Stefan to break through. Okay,
so we see the loop now for Sander. Sander is just trying to work out what Stefan is still playing around. Probably thinking, why are we still playing this? What does Stefan know that I don't? And Stefan probably is thinking, what do I need to do here to win? What does he know that I don't? And that's the fun of this matchup. So we do know that there is an option for next game, but whether Stefan is still thinking of any way that we haven't seen, maybe there's something that he can bring into this next match here. Yeah, absolutely. Being still against this strategy does not really work, because once again your opponent will play the Eldegoss, get 1 supporter and can just get another supporter to make sure that they don't deck themselves. There we go. Going into the next game, so Stefan has downloaded Sander's list, has worked it out completely, and there he is, our boy Sander. He is threatening, not just because of his brain, but because of how menacing he is as he stares across at you. He's a really tall man. He's a really tall man. I'm not particularly tall. He's Dutch, isn't he? Yeah, he's Dutch. He has it in his genes to be very tall. And he is an absolute menace to be paired against him. You know you're in for a headache with his very, very fantastic builds. There's a lot of commotion going on here at the Liverpool Regional. Pokemon Go, I do believe, has just had a big match. I would assume the final, based off of the reaction and the cheers that are going on. I don't know if you guys can hear that at home, but we've had an amazing time here at the Liverpool Regional. We are here in top 8 going into game 2 of the quarterfinal between Sander and Stefan. I'm sure you are both familiar with both of them. And with this game 2, we're excited to see what Stefan tries to do differently this time now that he's learnt the list. So now that he knows that this loop exists, 230 HP is the cap that the Eldegoss can reach. Therefore, he will try to be very careful about his scoop-up nets.
I think he's very happy also in the early game to go a bit slower. He already went pretty slow, but he can go even slower. Just leave a comfy in the active, try to find naturally that chorus experiment and reach the magical number of 7, and then start hitting.
And if it goes to game 3...
the Drapion option. I still think the Drapion option has some merit.
Yeah, the 60 damage to get down to the Rock Sound range, I think that's a legitimate strategy as well. But as you mentioned, this before we got into this game, going against Control, one of Control's biggest weaknesses is once you get into that top 8, we have a bit more time, which is good for Control in lots of ways, but it can often mean you go to that game 3, and in a game 3 scenario, it is not favoured for the Control deck, as prize cards are the primary way of winning there. You need to have more prize cards taken than your opponent, so we'll be seeing whether that comes true or whether Sander can continue his amazing game plan here in game 2.
Exactly. So in Swiss, normally when you're going to, you normally win game 1, game 2, you are a control deck, so after all, you have all the tools to stall out the game legally, obviously, and therefore you will just get a victory like that. As we mentioned before, 905 was the score for Sander, undefeated technically, and we'll see if that will stay true as well on the top. Up 1 game against the very, very sneaky Stefan with his decks that just have a great read on the metagame.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens in this next game. I'm sure the guys who are getting set up there will get into the game as soon as possible for you. But I'm interested to know what the future of Control looks like for Sander here, because one thing that's amazing about Sander is he's always innovating, always changing his list, and this list is one of my favorites he's had so far.
Exactly. So right now Sander is going to take a little break. There's quite a lot of brain power to play that deck of his. We're just going to get a quick look at the bracket, understand if any matchups are still resolved. We have a winner in top 8. It's Radsbold against Kim Pobega. Rads wins with his Lugia deck, and instead on the other bracket, Vinny against Leon. We have a winner, which is Leon.
You're right. You're right. Your best friend Kim not making it. My new best friend Sander might make top 4, so I might be able to beat you in that sense.
You just like side with the winners, don't you?
No.
You gotta stay near your friends.
Hang on a minute. I sided with Alex Dow today, and that was a bad decision, as we saw him on stream.
So you're taking sort of the safe bet, right?
Yeah. Well, Sander's great, isn't he?
Well, I'm gonna stay true and still cheer for Kim. Hopefully, he gets enough points for Yokohama. I'm pretty sure he's gonna get pretty near right now. On the other bracket, we don't have much news about Ryan against Mickey, and Stefan against Sander. We're just on a quick break for now. We are going back to the game very soon.
Did you see though Raz from Israel? The results we saw in their past tournaments, they consistently make these top finishes. So to make top 4, potentially a chance now for Raz to get that regional. But we are so excited to see what Stefan can bring in game 2 versus Sander. We've mentioned a few ideas there. Hopefully you guys in chat have been following along too. It's not the easiest of matchups to follow, not as simple as the big knockouts of the rest of the format.
Yeah, no, Lugia's smash. But we're getting set up for game 2. There's a fist bump, and let's see what they are starting with.
Okay, so
Drive Velta, not the best, but Sander is happy to give away those prizes at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, neither player here getting the ideal start. You know, Gudra not wanting to start with. Ideally, you want to start with a Comfey to start getting those flower selectings going. So both players won't be happy with that basic Pokemon in the active. And then looking as well in Sander's hand, I saw 2 Capes of Toughness there, which are end game cards. So they're going to be sticking around in that hand for a while.
Indeed. So I think at this point, Stefan realized that Sander does not run that much of a normal energy disruption. Therefore, he may even be happy to just go manual attachment. Do not put too many confis, do not commit too many switches to that. And just like normally, turn 2, maybe slip and trip, then turn 3, rolling out, and once you evolve into the Gudra V-Star. And therefore, you might just take this, as I mentioned before, a very slow matchup and just reach the magical number, or just 4 in this case, to get to the Cramorant through the chorus experiments.
Hadn't even thought about that. That's a very fair point, is just manual attaching 3 turns in a row. Do it the old-fashioned way. Get rid of this crazy energy acceleration of Mirage Gate. Theme deck your way to the magic number of 3. So you can see there the Gudra in the active spot might just stick around and stay there and start swinging as soon as turn 3 for Stefan.
Exactly. So right now, Sander has a Radiant Greninja in the prizes, a Equine Horn and a Galar Mine. I think the most important card of those is Galar Mine. But once again, Sander has access to that Peonia, one of his favorite cards. I think he has featured it in basically his last 5 decks that he has played since it came out. And yeah, always basically having access to the cards you have in your prizes. So important in a deck of so many one-offs.
Indeed. So we do see the flower selecting starting now. And this is where we'll be interested to see which of the cards do start getting removed this time from Stefan, whether he prioritizes the Scoop Up Nets and the Zigzagoon, knowing that that's one of the routes, maybe going down the Roxanne idea like you mentioned, using the Drapion to self-knockout to get down to 3 prizes could be another method.
Exactly. So right now, Sander goes for Chorus Experiment turn 1 right off the bat. Very happy to see that probably. Although I think there's a bunch of resources that I don't know if he wants to develop all of them right away. His hand, 2 Cape of Toughness, 3 energies, and a big Parasol. Nothing exciting there.
Okay, but he does see a Bruno, which at this point is the perfect time to use it. But would be scared to keep just a solo Yveltal in play for one more turn. That could be quite risky. A Bird Keeper as well. Okay, so he's getting rid of those. I thought he was selecting them. So not
Thornton and Bruno.
The only benefit would have been with that was to get rid of those Cape of Toughness in his hand and see them later on. But I was a Thornton. So they kept the old Bird Keeper there. Very useful later on in the game.
Yeah, so he has a Capture Energy, so at least he's granted to not be donked. Right now also has the Quick Ball that he selected off the Chorus Experiment. He's thinking about it. He is thinking whether she should Quick Ball before, have a look for his deck, and then attach an energy to possibly a Regieleki. That's one of his Pokemon we will see. We saw him attack with many times last time.
Okay, so Quick Ball here. Going to be able to get that deck search going and find out what's in the prizes here. And I think the Quick Ball of the Big Parasol, again, another card, irrelevant in this matchup, has been so key to get Sander to this stage. The Big Parasol typically used with that Flying Pikachu to wall out all the decks that have just basic Pokemon.
Yeah, basically Regigigas. Some versions of the Lost Box deck as well have troubles surmounting it. So right now, Sander is just having a look, seeing what options does he have. We haven't seen really the Starly shine through on the first game, but he has a Bird Keeper in his hand. Maybe that's one of his options that he's thinking for next turn. Yeah,
the Bird Keeper, great combination with the Starly, just being able to make it a free attack cost for that search of any 2 cards. And we are seeing those early turns again. It's been a while. Do you remember when we first saw this? It was about 40 minutes ago when we first started this matchup. The early turns, they do take some time in the control matchup, and of course for the Goodra, there is no rush. We do not want to burn through resources to try and set up the Goodra as soon as possible, because that could bite us later on. So Stefan taking it slow just as much.
Yep, so normally in Swiss you have 50 minutes to get a best of 3, while instead in top 8 and 4th you have 75 minutes to decide a winner. There's a there's a Twin Energy attached on the Yveltal, probably just used to pay its retreat cost of 2.
So I'm interested. I don't know if we can get a poll in chat. I'm interested. Yeah, we can get a poll in chat. Yeah. So I believe Sander is a Marmite kind of figure, to use the term of you love me or hate me. I want to hear from you guys. Do you find the Sander approach to the game boring or fascinating? And
Very good question.
And then just put a third one in there of, so I don't know, something like that. And then that way we'll get to an understanding of whether you guys are enjoying watching Sander do this. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I feel like this is
it's a very brainiac matchup. And I think the control archetype, for many years, it did not exist in the Pokemon game. It's something somewhat recent, let's say in the past 5 to 6 years. Before that, people didn't really think about control. The game has evolved so much that people have tried to expand it in different directions, where before it couldn't have gone. I wonder in the future even what sort of heights we will reach in terms of Pokemon deck building.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at the original format, the first ever cards ever released, you know, the base sets and fossil sets and everything. When that was first being played, there wasn't the level of innovation we have now. And so, sort of, was it 12 years on, they did a tournament where people played the original cards, and it turned out Control was the best archetype, but it was never played until decades after the set was released. So it shows you Control is definitely a deck that is hard to think of. Not many people in the world are able to think of it, and no one quite like Sander.
Exactly. So the game is always evolving here, and we see actually about evolving here. Let's see if the Gudra Vista will be evolving this turn, and possibly having a Mirage Gate as well to power it up. That's 5 cards in the Lost Zone right now for Stefan, getting dangerously near to that 7 number. Obviously, when the control deck has few cards, yeah, there we go, that's the evolution into the Gudra V-Star, and getting a knockout on the Snorlax right now would prevent Sander from having such an easy setup. But unfortunately, Stefan, or rather, not unfortunately, Stefan decides to go for the easier and calmer route.
It's interesting as well, last time we didn't get to see much Gourmandise going on, which is typically a card that will sit out front for Sander throughout the game to try and build out the hand and get everything needed. This occasion we do get to see a Gourmandise, so a different approach to thinning the deck and going through all the resources needed on this occasion. So it's not always one route to victory with a Sander list, so we'll see how that pans out. But so far, no scoop-up nets burnt for whatever reason by Stefan, being very much more resourceful with those. And this is what we mentioned before, like when you're unfamiliar with a matchup, you have to hold on to those resources because you never know when you might need them.
Exactly.
In hindsight, I think Stefan would have been like, oh, I shouldn't have burnt so many scoop-up nets because I could have used it for this, this, and this. But, you know, you never know that until you come across those things, unless you've got incredible foresight, which I don't think anyone would have been able to predict those numbers of Eldegoss in this matchup.
Exactly. Some people really underestimate the importance of having played against someone already or having tested this matchup. If you really want to come to the top, these players spend so much time of their life going through every deck, going through every matchup, understanding what people may bring, and this is really why they are in top 8. This is the difference maker.
And you know these two? They ID'd final round of Swiss as well.
Yeah,
so
let's leave this for top 8, you know what?
Yeah, and that was risky for Sander because he knew that by IDing that game, it might put him out of the top 8, but you know, there is always a risk if you play that final game as a control deck that you end up losing and then you don't even make it. So
and imagine if they played and then they tied anyways. Now, Stefan had extra information about the deck, and therefore may have played this already differently.
So that ID was huge.
Yeah, the ID. Sometimes your opponent will offer you an ID and you are still on the risky side of the deal. Sometimes it's even better it's still better to take the deal, because you never know how things may go. Things may not go your way, and even if it's a matchup that you define as easy, getting into top 8 already grants you some prizes. So right now, Cape of Toughness on the Miltank. Sander has identified that the only answer in Stefan's deck is that single copy of the Cramorant.
And last game we saw a lot of Gust effects coming out and being used early on. I think the game plan for Sander means that Gust effects early on is the approach, because you know, you're not going to be able to gust up the Eldegoss once there's only one in play. So yeah, you need to use those early. And remember, last game that Boss's Orders was the last prize. Yeah. That could have been
if it
a way out.
2 turns earlier, I think that would have made a difference. But obviously, Sander just played majestically at the end there, just leaving those 2 Eldegoss out, putting back the other Pokemon into his hand. And now Stefan is thinking, I'm going to go for a Mirage Gate. I'm on the magical number. 7 cards. Therefore, he's going to be able to have access to all those energies in his deck. Attaching 2 to the Gudra Vista, we're going to start rolling some iron, I believe.
Indeed.
So right now, Stefan has 2 energies. He needs 1 more and the switching effects, or just as long as Galar Mine is not on the battlefield, just 1 energy on that Comfy. And one great thing about Mirage Gate is that you can attach those 2 energies in any way you like.
I mean, a lot of you might be wondering, who is Sander? For the blind, he is Vision. For the hungry, I'm not going to read the rest of that.
Are you reading chat?
That's an amazing message. Someone did also message in chat saying that Roxanne has been put in the Lost Zone. There is, in fact, 2 Roxanne in the Stefan list, so that is not a problem. There is a second one available for that plan that you mentioned of self-knockout.
Yeah, it's definitely a plan that requires a lot of time, and Sander may adapt to this plan. I'm not saying it's a bad plan, not even close. These matchups do not have a right way to navigate them, and you need to change your strategy every single card that is played. Right now, Sander decides, yeah, I'm going to draw 2 cards. Fantastic usage of the Regieleki, not only as a great attacker, but also basically as a draw engine. A very awkward draw engine, but here we are. There we go, Peonia, putting 3 cards back, and I think Sander is doing the same thing that he did in game 1, in which he goes, I'm going to Peonia, then I'm going to retreat, attack with electromagnetic sonar, and get back Peonia. Therefore, I have full access to all those cards I need to close out this game.
Yeah, and then we mentioned the stadium battle being so important last game.
Yep.
In the end, it was Sander who
missed the Galar Mine now.
Yeah, he's looking for that Galar Mine again from the prizes, and missed it the same way, actually. It's the same position, the Galar Mine, same 3 took with Peonia. Interesting to see how that has shaped up. But you can see the cards that have been put back. It was a Flying Pikachu, it was the Flying Pikachu V Max and an Echoing Horn, I believe. But by using the Hisuian Heavy Ball, I think probably wanted to try and get the Greninja out with that Peonia as well. By using the Hisuian Heavy Ball, that has now shuffled those prize cards, so now it's not as possible for Sander to remember where everything was.
That's correct.
So if he wants to double dip again for the Galar Mine, he's not going to be able to know exactly where it is.
This is a very important point. Well spotted here, Mike. Here we're going to see the Radiant Greninja activation, discarding an energy, drawing 2 cards. I would have not expected him to play right now, but I think he needs to get to that thinning of the deck. Maybe Stefan has got that point, and he will try to stop him, maybe targeting the Radiant Greninja, but I think he needs to be very careful about his resources. There's an Yveltal on the active. That's a pretty easy and cheap knockout.
120 hit points, so one of the Galarian Zigzagoon might be used.
No,
I mean, would he save it? Is he scared to use it this early? I mean, there is 4 Scoop Up Net, so it is potential to be used. But yeah, just the capture energy there onto the Goodra. We'll probably try and get the Goodra into the active spot and start attacking with that.
Yeah, so right now it just needs a way to retreat. No Galar Mine. The Cramorant has a retreat cost of 1. It's not great to attach energies to the Cramorant. Ooh, interesting choice here. Putting down the Radiant Greninja. I thought before a bit that maybe the Radiant Greninja was an attacking option, but I think 80 damage to chew off your opponent's Pokemon is not enough, especially considering Sander plays a copy of a Manaphy. I cannot remember by the lights of me if Stefan had access to that information game 1. I think he was just hidden, put into the prizes before with the Peonia.
Yeah, if you went for the 90 in 2 turns, 90 in 2 turns, it would get 2 prizes, but it would be across 2 turns, so it wouldn't speed up your journey to victory. Greninja typically a great answer to the Lost Engine. It can also be a good answer to the likes of Inteleon line, especially because it can get them as they evolve into Drizzile. But you saw there 1 Scoop Up Net being used for the Cramorant to switch it out into the Goodra V-Star. So that is 1. Make sure you keep count of those Scoop Up Nets.
Yeah, Stefan probably already checked how many has in his deck. There are none in his last zone, just 1 used for now. And he needs only 2 to get a knockout in the end, because you just place the Zigzagoon, then you scoop it up again. That's 30 damage plus 200, 230.
And it wasn't revealed Zigzagoon in the first game, so Sander might not be aware of it, and there's not really much Sander can do in that sense. But he might not be aware of that as a factor, so he might be feeling quite confident right now that if he can get down to that Eldegoss loop at the end, he will be in a strong position. And another little synergistic factor here I love with the Greninja is that some of these energies aren't useful in certain matchups, so they're just instant removal from play with the Greninja. So great little trade effect there.
I also want to bring the attention of chat to Sander's prizes. He's using his prizes with Peonia is a great tool because basically it lets you hide away free of your cards that you don't want, and you just put them for the matchup, and you just put it into the lost zone. You are unlikely to draw those prizes, but that's fine. You don't want those cards anyways.
So where we mentioned there is 1 Galar Mine in the prizes, might find a way to remove them here with the Sydney. It looks like there isn't any. That's a Sydney whiff, but a hand observation here still. As we mentioned, a great secondary effect.
Like in any card game, when you have your chance to basically look at your opponent's hand, you basically have extra information, which is always useful, and you can decide, when do I go in with my combo? I have access to what my opponent has. Do they have any counter for my combo? Do they have any way to disrupt me? And in that case, I think Sander just saw, well, right now Stefan's hand is not going too far away. I just need to stall him out for some turns. And then I'll try to call this out. Once again, the Elgigas part of this infinite loop combo. Mana Feed now revealed. It's going to be discarded by Sander. The for Stefan is pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it will not go for the Radiant Greninja route. Too slow and way too easy to stop.
Yeah, Eldegoss is a fun one as well because it does give you access to the supporters you used as soon as you want. So if later on suddenly wants to use the Sydney, wants to use the Peonia again, can do that. But yeah, we mentioned last game how the Sydney could be useful in that stadium back and forth. On this occasion, it didn't get rid of a stadium, so the Galar Mine ×3 and the Lost Vacuum will be needed to bounce all 3 of the Temple of Sinnohs.
So now Drapion comes late to the party, my friend. I don't know if you'll ever get to see you. I was just, for the sake of science, I would be interested to see how the game would have played out if that route was followed. But right now, Stefan is in a pretty good condition. I think better than the first game because now he has more information about what his opponent's deck does. Yeah, I was about to say, as long as this Chorus Experiment does not have like 3 of the Scoop of Nets and other important card, and the Zigzagoon is going to be golden.
But yeah, you saw there in the Chorus Experiment.
Yeah, Zigzagoon,
Scoop of Net, 100%, and then what else? What else do I need?
Very good here by Stefan, really getting the card he needed. Sander, once again, does not have any piece of hand disruption, whether it's just reducing the hand of Stefan or just picking out some cards that are relevant because the Sydney only hits special energies, tools, or stadiums.
Right, take a little pause here as a knockout happens. 3 prizes left for Stefan. 2 more turns will be down to that final prize card, which is that sweet spot where Sander will have to start creating the loop, and we've got plenty of time here to be able to guarantee that to happen.
Yeah.
As you can see,
14 minutes, and I think Stefan is very happy to go into a game 3. Sander not as much using that Radiant Greninja ability here to draw 2 more cards, always trying to thin out his deck, always trying to get to the magical number where only the Elgigas are the cards in the deck. Sorry. Right. Chorus Experiment once again. Great. Oh my.
That's some energy.
Some energies.
Which energies would you like from your Chorus Experiment?
I would like these ones. Thank you very much. Those will go into the Lost Zone. Sander not caring as much about the numbers of Lost Zone cards for him. Let's see what he wants to go from here. He still needs, I think, some turns to set up. Therefore, yeah, choose Scoop Up Nets. I think if he can bench maybe 1 more Pokemon, because he has 1 more Scoop Up Nets, I believe. But right now he has access to the Electromagnetic Sonar, so he can just get back. Yeah, I was about to say just a Chorus Experiment, trying to get to that 0 card number in his deck. Not something you see every day. I really respect Sander for having this wonderful idea that going to 0 and you have an infinite loop, and you just win by milling.
Do you like Stefan's turn there?
Yes, boop.
Attack, please. To be fair, that's how a lot of the matches go for the Hisuian Gudra V-Star. Once you're all set up, rolling iron, can you knock me out? No. Rolling iron, can you knock me out? No.
Very
go.
sad we will not see the Moisture Star from the Gudra V-Star. Not very useful to heal your Pokemon from damage when you take no damage. I don't think that's very useful, no. Now, Gormandai's Snorlax being promoted. I don't think drawing up to 7 is very useful when you have about 20 cards in your hand. 7 cards, I think, left in Sander's deck. Chorus Experiment is going to bring that to a very healthy Chew.
Yeah, there's the 5.
I think actually only 1. I think he had 6 cards in his...
Well, that's the sweet spot because you draw for turn, so we'll be able to scoop up now. Might scoop up and leave just the Miltank available. But yeah, the Eldegoss is available. With the first 2 Eldegoss going into play, you do get access to an extra bonus supporter that you find useful. You need the Chorus Experiment, but the second one might be able to bring out the Dream card to try and win the matchup. It could be something like the Sydney, could be Peonia to try and get access to that.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Galar Mine.
I am not sure if Sander knows about the Galarian Zigzagoon. As you mentioned before, it was revealed game 1. When he peered into... when he probed the hand of Stefan, there wasn't there. He just drew it off the Chorus Experiment. I think he's really going in right now with the idea that I'm fine, but Stefan really has those cards already in his hand.
He's holding 2 Scoop Up Net and a Zigzagoon, so he has it guaranteed.
Yeah, he is confused. So unless he has exactly 2 switches into his hand or a way to attach the energies, Stefan may not be able to do so. I don't think. Yeah, Moisture Tower only heals the damage.
Oh, here he goes. Stefan is doing the excited move placement. You can watch here as he tries to dig through that massive hand of his. He has the 2 scoop up nets. Galarian Zigzagoon. He's going to be
30, making sure.
He's just making sure.
Does he have?
Here we go. Look at that. Look at that excited movement.
Wait a minute. He doesn't have. I don't think I saw 2 switches or 2 escape ropes. So he's going to ping, ping.
And then he just attacks with the rolling iron.
Yeah, but he's confused. So there's a risk here. Okay, he has an escape rope plus, or maybe even 2 switches. He also had a boss order. He's going to switch, promote comfy, just a touch of energy, retreat, and here we go. No Galarian Mine was in play. Therefore, that's the damage. 200 rolling iron, taking the knock on the Eldegoss, drawing the last 2 prizes. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a game 3 with 10 minutes left on the clock. I don't think Sander is very happy about this.
Amazing, amazing stuff there from Stefan. What a hero. Okay. Did so well.
Some Power Ranger stuff.
No, I know you haven't played the new game, but that is the Team Star movement. He's absolutely nailed it. Look at him. What a hero. Stefan did download the Sander deck and work out that Galarian Zigzagoon route with the 2 scoop up net was the way out of that loop. We mentioned it there. He realized it halfway through the game. The moment he saw the Eldegoss with the Cape of Toughness in game 1, he looked at the card and went, my way of winning here is the Zigzagoon, but unfortunately I've used up my scoop up nets. Game 2 saves them there, and the moment that turn comes around, you saw that excitement in his hands, the flurry as he played those cards down to win.
Exactly. So the way that he went down, not showing the Galarian Zigzagoon on game 1 because it was basically useful. Never give information to your opponent if you don't necessarily need it to win. And then he was also very lucky when Sydney came into play that he did not have it right there. So unfortunately, Sander could not play around it. Update from the top 8. 1-1 on the other side of the table. Ryan against Mikey, the British Mirror.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that one pans out. We know now with the time frame left that Stefan is in a strong spot in going into this game 3 here. And also has an answer now that he is sussed out to beat Sander's list. But isn't it crazy that there is one way out in this matchup for him against Sander? Everything else has been accounted for by Sander. I wonder, he mentioned to us that there's lots of changes he would make to his list. Yeah. There's things that he's worked out just today and even just in the days before the tournament that he may need to change. And I wonder how much that would allow him to overcome that Zigzagoon method.
Exactly. So Sander right now just played the Capture Energy, having a look through his deck, looking at his prizes. Let's have a look for both players. 2 Mirage Gates, 2 Colors Experiment. For Stefan, I don't think he's very fast about going a bit slower this game, as long as it takes a knockout, making sure that he will be ahead in the prize race. Sander does not have many great attacking options. His best attacking option may be the Flying Pikachu, 160 damage, immune from basic turn after, or Regieleki sniping for 120 damage to one of your opponent bench Pokemon. Both of those, not great attacks.
Gonna have to start playing for the attacks, which is a slightly different mindset. There is a thumping Snorlax in there, which could be interesting. And I think that's the key right now, is we're going to see a very different method here from Sander. Sander knows that he cannot lock out Stefan's list because there is the 4 scoop up net and the Zigzagoon to play with. But it's now going to be working out how to get an attacker online and start taking some prizes.
Exactly. So Stefan really on the back of last game win. Now he knows he needs to play differently. Once again, the player needs to adapt to the situation. He will need to just draw some prizes, making sure that Sander cannot pull something from his sleeve and try to get those quick prizes. So right now Sander just having a look, understanding what's the game plan. I suspect the first turn will be quite similar to the last ones, maybe trying to disrupt more actively the opponent. But yeah, this is not the spot where Sander wants to be.
Yeah, it says 7.5 minutes left there on the top 8. I assume that is still the case. There was a break halfway through. I'm not sure if that has affected the time, and maybe there'll be an extension. But that is really key right now for us to know whether this game is going to be going to the time, and well, it will go to time, but at what state the game will be in at that moment.
Exactly. So as long as Stefan has a meaningful prize advantage, he will be declared the winner and advance into top 4. Right now he has a pretty good hand for a setup. He has a Rayhan, which is I don't think is going to be used this game now, because Sander needs to knock out one of his Pokemons for that card to become online.
So do you not think Sander right now is going to be thinking, how can I use the few attackers I have in my deck right now to start taking prizes and hope that the Gudra struggles at the start?
I'm not sure. Flying Pikachu VMAX, putting it down and starting to attacking with it means that you need 3 turns, first of all, because it doesn't have any energy acceleration. Or rather, well, 2 turns if attack with the double turbo, in which case it's going to do 140 damage, walled by the 80 damage of the Rolling Iron, plus the V-Star. I feel like it's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Especially with the Flying Pikachu VMAX in the prizes, does make it a little bit tougher.
Yeah, it makes it 1 more turn at least to set that up. I don't know, Sander is probably thinking, as we are, about how to go on for this matchup.
Well, Sander's lists typically don't play many good attackers in them because they are not trying to take prizes, but this is one of the more effective prize-taking decks for Sander, if that is the case. You know, if you have Control Mirror, that's always a fun one to watch two people playing Control, trying to work out how they can take prizes. On this occasion, Flying Pikachu VMAX, the Thumping Snore Snorlax, and the Regieleki with Electromagnetic Radar, they can all take some damage. So it's definitely worth checking those out with Targeted Bolt on the Regieleki. 120 to any Pokemon when you discard 2 energy.
Any
Not ideal.
Pokemon, and you need to discard those energies, only which Sander plays 3 copies, therefore not great. Let's see what's the fun. Oh, I found a chorus experiment of the Luminion. Gonna try to boost that up, trying to get those prizes early. Once again, he knows he doesn't need to go too deep right now. All he needs is to reach the magical number, try to set up a good run. Maybe even he couldn't even go just for the Cramorant this turn. He could already put some pressure. The Snorlax will not be knocked out because he has 130 HP, but dealing 110 damage every turn that go also over the Miltank means that it's a lot of pressure for the control player to take right now.
Yeah,
there's a Zigzagoon.
110 onto the active with a Zigzagoon could be quite good.
We may even see the Zigzagoon going away right now. I think actually he's going to decide to keep it, let go of a boss. No, he's going to just let go of 2 energies. Okay,
so the 2 energy going into Lost Zone there, so that gets
Always
up to the magic count of 4. Yeah. Cramorant available. We'll see what happens here, whether Zigzagoon ping with a scoop up net will be used to guarantee the knockout on the Snorlax. But this is interesting because Stefan is now going to try and work out what Sander is doing differently this time. But it does look to just pass the Convey and the active and not try and get too overextended.
4 cards already in the lost zone for Stefan. That means the lost provision, from the Cramorant is online, can attack with it for free. But the real deal is when 3 more cards are added to the lost zone, activating the Mirage Gate, and the real hitter Gudra V-Star comes into play.
Okay, so another capture energy put onto the Regieleki there.
Not needed for the targeted bolt, but just needed to set up. Let's see what he wants to go for here. Will be one more of his support Pokemons. What is that? I don't think I can see it from here. It's a Miltank.
Okay, so the Miltank might be looking to wall out and could even be used to attack as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good attack. Route 10 plus 20 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. With a Twin Energy that does not reduce its damage, it can get up to 110 each turn.
So we'll see the route taken here. We did see the Thumping Snore Snorlax taken off of the Bird Keeper, so that is an option there. With the Twin Energies in the deck, that is a good option to get some damage off. But we will see the route that Sander looks to take. As we know, Sander is a genius when it comes to control, but can he work out a way to deal with Game 3 with not much time left?
Yeah, with the game rules, when when you play control and you're playing Swiss, the rules are sort of in your favor, because a tie or just winning game 1 and then you go to tie, then you're declared the winner if after the 3 turns. While instead in top 8, this is the problem that he had also in the past. The rules basically play against him.
And it means now that Stefan knows it's unlikely to get to that Eldegoss loop stage at the end of the game, so doesn't need to worry about the scoop-up notes being saved. There was also a Mirage Gate or Mirage Gate flower selecting just moments ago, which obviously Mirage Gate was taken, so Stefan now has Mirage Gate access in hand if they can get that final card into the Lost Zone this turn. And we'll see whether Cramorant might get used here to knock out the Starly. Yeah, the Starly 50 HP can be knocked out very. A Comfy, if it really tries hard, has some form of damage boost that specifically hits Starly, can't even get the knockout. Would like, I remember Jirachi's Lap for the knockout was a real thing back in the day. But right now, I think Stefan is just going for the safer route. He has already 6 cards in his Lost Zone, 1 more, and we are there. Therefore, yeah, I think Stefan is golden right now. Right, so we'll see what Stefan does here, whether to try and reach for that Mirage Gate and start the Gudra train, or just look to get the Cramorant knockout on the Starly. I'd assume the latter. But the other side is the interesting one for me. We know the game plan of Gudra. We know how it works. We know how the Lost Engine works, but we keep wondering what can Sander do under this different game state and whether the control style won't work as well. So next turn is a big one for me. See whether Sander can start attacking, because at the end of the day, even if they do try and go for the prize-taking route, they need to get ahead early, because they do not have a typical easy route to taking prizes, unlike other decks which can get one-hit knockouts. They're going to have to be picking and choosing the right knockouts at the right time.
Yeah, so Gudra is the
pass.
Yeah, there's a pass here. Decides to not go. That's not second comfy.
Was that a pass?
I don't know.
No, it wasn't a pass.
It was probably an ask of how many cards does Sander have in his hand.
Okay.
So to understand what the chances are here. One more flower selection. That's going to bring us to 7 cards. It's I think an ordinary rod and a scoop of net. Scoop of net being favored here.
Okay, so he went for the Mirage Gate approach, looking to try and get access to that and activate that as soon as possible. Exactly. Access to 2 scoop up nets there makes sense to why that would be the route taken.
Yeah, 1 Mirage Gate in the hand. I haven't seen a Gudra V-Star in there, however. No,
but there is the Gudra. Gudra can get the knockout here on the Starly with the Mirage Gate and an attachment. The Rolling Shell, which is just like a weaker form of the Rolling Iron, where it just does a little bit less damage and a little less protection. 140 damage, 30 reduction the next turn.
Yeah, he decides instead to favor the Cramorant. The Cramorant definitely here can take the knockout. It may be a problem if the Cramorant gets knocked out, but I think Stefan has realized that that is unlikely to be the case, considering Sander's main attackers. Right now, he's probably just gonna spit innocently. Yeah, that's the name of the attack. I'm taking that first prize advantage. So right now the timer on the round is 0. We're waiting for confirmation if that's the actual timer.
I mean, we did see that the Sander had a little bit of a break in the middle. Maybe it was a toilet break, not quite sure exactly what that was. So there might be a little bit of an extension of time. We'll find that out for you at home, because it seems like they haven't gestured a turn 0, 1, 2, 3 on the table. But again, interesting game state here for Sander. What's his plan? So
okay, we are on overtime then.
What does that mean?
Good question.
So we'll try and work out what that means. Miltank into the active spot here, and we will get the attachment and then probably some attacks coming up from the Miltank, or was that? Oh no, that Miltank was gusted up. I apologise. It is still Stefan's turn. Yeah, Stefan getting the Miltank up and attacking with the Cramorant before it can get a Cape of Toughness on it.
I definitely like this. This closes the opportunity of the Cramorant to being knocked out somehow. I think Sander revealed the Echoing Horn before. Therefore, he could have Echoing Horn, 1 Pokemon, attach an energy, and knock out the Cramorant. Therefore, yes, we have confirmation. We are on turns right now, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, at the end of these 3 turns, the player that has the fewest prizes will be declared winner. Likely to be that Stefan was turn 0 and Sander is turn 1. Going to turn 2 for Stefan Ivanov. So as long as he take a prize and one of his V-Star does not get knocked out, we are good.
Yeah, you see that little dice down at the bottom there in the middle. Turn 1 signifies a Greninja in the active. I really can't see the route here to victory for Sander. This is a tough one for him. The Gudra V-Star list, just too much ability to take prizes at this stage. So we'll see how this goes here for the players. Yeah, very typical of a Sander quarter-final. Makes it all this way, doing so well in Swiss, and then up against a good player. Once they work out how the deck works and they find a solution, 1-1 goes game 3, not in his favor.
I mean, I would expect this game 3 if it went to an end. I mean, it's not over yet. Sander may have something that we don't know, maybe something that we have not. But obviously, you know, the whole rules about being in top 8, the prize advantage. If this game probably went to an end, maybe Sander would have played around the Zigzagoon plays. But right now, Sander needs to play with what he has. He's on turn 1, leaving him an extra turn after Stefan plays his last. And let's see what Sander is able to pull off here. Stefan, very interestingly, does not attach any energies. There's only 1 Cramorant ready to attack for 110 damage.
Yeah, you can just see there the Syrian heavy ball. Gonna get, was it a Yveltal out of the prizes?
I think so.
Honestly, the challenge of working out an atypical strategy, Yellhorn there, scoop up net the Greninja, get the electromagnetic sonar on board. It will take 2 lightning energy to be able to get the attack off for the Regieleki. So
the target bolt 120 damage on one of your opponent's bench Pokemons.
So it needs one.
Could have even the prize race, but then again, it would have just been answered by another knockout by Stefan.
Yeah, two of the speed lightning energy would need to be attached. Finding those from the deck is not easy. It's not a way to search them directly, so would have to draw them. It's not easy, so no access to that just yet.
Okay, I like this. Sander picked up all of his Pokemon with less than 110 HP and does not intend to put them down for now. So at least he's still... Listen, this is a dire situation for Sander, but he still asked the question, do you have Mirage Gate? Do you have Mirage Gate and a way to retreat to knock out one of my Pokemon and go up in the prize trade?
Yeah, exactly. Asking questions, probably trying to find those lightning energy so we can start using the targeted bolt, on that Regieleki. And then while the active Pokemon might be stuck, that could be a way of just slowly taking stuff out on the bench. And that is a route to victory here. Unfortunately, not getting any energies off of those draws just yet.
If he gets to the next turn, but he probably won't. Sander can Photon. Switch the active Pokemon on to the Miltank and possibly take the knockout plus the Echoing Horn. But it's reaching at this point. Stefan evolved into the Gudra V-Star, has a Scoop Up Net, has the Mirage Gate, and has an energy. As long as there are 2 energies left into his deck, he will be able to attach those energies and take the knockout, bringing him to up to 2 prizes.
Right, so Stefan now just trying to work out if there is any risk involved with the current situation they see themselves in. They have a Scoop Up Net in hand, so they can get that Cramorant out the way. They have the ability to get energy on to the Gudra V-Star. So as you can see, 2 from the Mirage Gate. There was a water energy in hand, so we'll be able to power that up fully and start that Rolling Iron. When that Cramorant gets moved out the active spot, that will be the point where Sander starts to think, every option is gone. Everything I've tried is not possible anymore. Every disruption I've used is not available. And on this occasion, we'll see Stefan just getting that final energy and the Scoop Up Net here to get that Rolling Iron started.
Exactly. So right now, Stefan has a Scoop Up Net. No worries about a Galar Mine. Can even go a bit deeper. Yeah, I think he's going to go for a Chorus Experiment. No harm in that. Very unlikely to be milled out of nowhere by Sander. Let's see what else is gonna grab right now. I'm pretty sure Stefan is feeling great at this point. I'm not sure what he fears, but it's always good, to use the resources you're given. You can play 1 supporter each turn, therefore play it. Therefore try to get as many cards as you can into your hand. Try to set up as much as fast as possible, just in case things go south.
Exactly, so 2 more into the Lost Zone. No Sableye in this deck, so no worries about any other number other than the 4 and the 7 that we've seen already for Cramorant and Mirage Gate. And you see the 2 energy just chilling there on the Gudra. They were not attached from hand, they were from the Mirage Gate, so that means a single attachment there. The capture energy will be going through the deck, see if there's anything wanted. Cannot find any options, so may just shuffle here. And then with that Scoop Up Net or a switch, we'll get the Cramorant out the active and start Rolling Iron, which would then take another prize, putting Stefan on 4 prizes left. Meanwhile, Sander still 6 prizes remaining.
Exactly. So Stefan here still just, I think he's feeling great. Yeah, once again, he has that Gudra fully powered up. Things go south, even can the V-Star it. Don't think this will happen. 3 Scoop Up Nets into his hand. Can do the little trick with the on the Elgigos, but honestly, I think here that's not even needed.
Well, I've still got 2
Temple
Scoop Up Nets just in case.
Just to make sure.
Yeah, this is rough right here. And
Iron, 200 damage. I'll take the knockout. Thank you very much. 130 plus 50.
There we go.
Sander realizes it. We are done for. We have the other semi-finalist. It's gonna be Stefan with his wonderful Team Star, was it? Team Star pose, going into the semis with his Gudra deck.
I get a little replay on that one there from Stefan. So Stefan, the Gudra V-Star deck, came into this tournament with it, has done so well with it to get to this stage, was #1 seed out of Swiss, and comes up against Control deck in the first game. A unfamiliar matchup as they ID'd in the Swiss stage, but downloaded Sander's list in that first game, worked out exactly what he needed to do game 2, saved that Zigzagoon and the 2 scoop up net to get the Elder Goss knockout with the Cape of Toughness on it, and found himself the victory in game 2. Game 3, you saw that. It goes that way when you're a Control deck, but valiant effort from Sander, and I'd love to see what he does to that list to try and refine it.
Exactly. So, well, we're definitely going to see more of Sander in the future tournaments. In the meantime, Stefan advancing in top 4. We're going to take a little break for him, at least. We're going to just keep talking about this format that we are seeing right now. We will have also soon an update on the bracket, before confirming the semi-finals. But yeah, Gudra was really a good call, I would say, for this metagame. It was a deck that beginning appeared at the Latin American International Championship. Didn't have that much of a success. Still, I think one went to top 8. But other than that, it sort of stopped there. But here we have the semi-finals right in front of us. It's going to be Mikey that wins the UK mirror. Mirror of nationality, that is. Let's have a look at what they were playing.
Yeah, the Lugia V-Star, the winner out of the Kim versus Raz match there in the third quarter-final. Both players playing Lugia V-Star. Then Leon down at the bottom, getting a 2-0 victory using Mew VMAX. From Switzerland, Leon. As you mentioned, Mikey from the UK, coming out on top with a lost box using Rayquaza as the big attacker in that one. And we just saw Stefan Ivanov with the Gudra V-Star making it through in that quarterfinal. Just watch on stream, so a nice variety here in the top 4. Absolutely. And we'll be seeing which of those can make it to the final.
Exactly. So right now we are going to have a Gudra V-Star playing against a Mew VMAX, if I'm correct, and then a Lugia against a
Lost Box was against Gudra V-Star, and Mew
so.
VMAX versus the Lugia V-Star, so that'll be interesting to see how they pan out.
Lugia, we already featured it, the Fusion Strike version, really preying on that early game, really trying to get early knockouts, not letting Lugia taking the advantage. Well, instead, Gudra is going to meet, I think, one of its worst matchups. I think Rayquaza is a matchup that you don't really want to see.
It's one of the few Pokemon that can actually knock it out.
Exactly. One hit taking up to 400 damage if 5 different type of energies are being played for that amazing burst.
You say a bad matchup, but I don't think there's many bad matchups for this deck. I think a lot of it will come down to how either deck draws, right? That's, I mean, reaching for that big 400 damage is still challenging, and it cannot be repeated over and over again.
I think going first may actually be the worst in this matchup, because you don't have access right away to the Colorless Experiment. Therefore, you will not reach that number 7, which both decks need for that Mirage Gate.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if we'll watch that semi-final, but we'll definitely be able to find out about how that goes, because the choice from Stefan, he came on the interview and he mentioned how he felt it was good into all the main decks in the format, and if you're not good into Lost Box, Lugia and Mew, that statement's pretty redundant, so he's obviously tested very well against them, and we'll get to see how that does if it carries on to the final. But in that other semi-final, I wonder how that's going to pan out. A typical match we get to see multiple times on stream with all the different flavors of Mew VMAX. So this is the different flavors of Lugia V-Star, everyone mixing up their counts a little bit.
So right now we are expecting, we may have a Gudra in the final, we'll have a Lost Box, so we have a pretty varied 4 different decks into the top 4, somewhat representative except for Gudra being the outlier, but we will be back with the other semi-final very soon. Stick around and we'll see you very shortly.